How's it going, everyone? Hope you're all doing well. Figured we'd go live again here today. We did a live video yesterday and a lot of people seem to like it. So I want to bring you the next video here today talking about Chokepoint 2.0, still in effect. And yeah, some interesting things have happened in the last day about crypto. And I also want to talk about some secrets that BlackRock has that maybe they don't want everyone to know about at this point, but it's a significant thing to pay attention to for Bitcoiners. So I'm going to let people file in here. If you're watching back, if you're starting from the beginning, maybe skip to 2 minutes ahead or so. We'll start there. Let me just make sure the stream is going well and that everyone can hear everything. I think we should be good. Yeah, people are starting to file in. If you guys don't mind, just as we start this, hit subscribe. If you're seeing this for the first time, we're getting close to 300,000 subscribers. So if you don't mind, we can get up to that 300,000. That'd be awesome. Also hit the like button so this message is spread to more people. Hope you're all doing well today too. Like I said, I'll jump in here. We'll also look at the comment section in a few minutes after I get through what I'm gonna get through. I'm gonna show you, but yeah, appreciate you all being in here. It's an interesting day. A lot of buying happening yesterday with Bitcoin spiking back up to 62.5. It's a pretty good time to be in crypto. Let me just make sure I share my window here so everyone can see. And we should be good to go. All right, let's start here. If you want to trade cryptocurrencies using leverage, you can start over on Margex. You can get set up in just a few seconds. Maybe you want to short the market. Maybe you think we're going right back down to new lows. You can do that. If you think we're going to go up to new highs, you can do that. If you want to just 5x trade or do anything you want. If you want to hedge your portfolio, there's a link to Margex underneath the video. There's no KYC and you don't need a VPN. But let's get started. Oh, by the way, I should mention this too. WEEX is another non-KYC, non-VPN exchange. They're doing up to 6,803 USDT for our viewers. So if you want to check that out, there's a link to that underneath the video as well. Just tried to share it on screen, but I realized I'm sharing my screen. I tried to, but there is a big bonus being given away right now. So if you want to check it out, you can. Let's start here. Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index at 48. So not much greed by any means. It has popped up. Originally, when we started to move into the like $60,000 range, it was still lower. I think it's delayed a little bit, but we were still like in max fear, and then it popped up to 48. But people aren't getting greedy yet. This is just like maybe a bit of optimism in the market, but I think a lot of people are still freaked out at the market and where we're going after this. Oh, the crypto catch up. BTC YouTube Goat. Appreciate that, Tyler. Go check out Tyler's channel. But yeah, the market is not greedy at this point. I think if anything, it's just like a bounce, and it's just a question of where we move next. We are at a pretty key level. I've said this, like 60,000. If we could hold this as support, that would be quite bullish. But it's interesting to see who's actually buying these days. We know Mr. 100 still buying. We know big entities are buying. Just yesterday, I covered this last night, but the ETFs had $194 million of inflows after 5 consecutive days of outflows. Okay, big day there. Now, who carried the weight? Well, Wisdom Tree pulling their weight for the first time. Wisdom Tree BTCW buys 1,900 Bitcoin. Just to show you how weird that is. Like, look at this. This is Wisdom Tree. 10.5 million, then 118.5. So their total is 201. They had like 60% of their inflows yesterday. About 60% of their overall inflows yesterday, which is just wild. But as you can see, a handful of ETFs did pretty well yesterday, from FBTC to ARKB to IBIT. Obviously, big outflow from Grayscale. This was the largest outflow that we've seen in weeks. But yeah, a huge amount. I see a lot of people talking about how IBIT is now at 20.3 billion in inflows. They have high expectations for what's coming next. I'll show you that here in a second. But they had 157 million. This is after 52.5, and then 0 and 0 the day before. Now, what are they expecting? Well, they're expecting end of the year 40 billion in inflows. Best case is 50 billion, and demand hasn't peaked yet. So they're saying basically, hey, we're like moving up the curve, and that makes sense with Morgan Stanley starting to pitch their RIAs or their investment advisors starting to pitch it to their clients. With, I think it was one of the big banks as well, starting to talk to their clients about Bitcoin ETFs. But take a look. This is one of the secrets that they don't want you to know. And then we'll get to Chokepoint and 2.0, like some weird things happening to crypto companies right now. They're pretty much getting screwed. But it's interesting to see this. BlackRock never has an off day, and I've mentioned this a few times before, but they have several 0 days. If you look at these other ETFs, sure, there are some 0 days, right, with like BTCO and BTCW, but they're not anywhere near the volume that BlackRock is. BlackRock can have a multi-billion-dollar volume day and have 0 in inflows, and I think they're buying on the backside. I was just talking to someone about this today, but they have to either have a buyer or like someone that just said, we'll buy whenever there's a red day, or they're buying in their ETFs. Now, that means if they're willing to buy in their ETFs whenever it's a red day, I mean, like FBTC had negative 60 million, ARKB had negative 70 million, and GBTC had negative 70 million. Could have been easily a negative $100 million day for BlackRock. I think they had that one outflow day. They decided we're not going to allow that to happen anymore. We're going to buy within our other portfolios, which is just kind of nuts when you start thinking how much money could they throw at Bitcoin. A 1% allocation for them would be $100 billion. And actually, that's probably on the low side because everyone says BlackRock has 10 million in AUM, but the markets have moved up since those numbers were reported. So they might have more like 12 trillion in AUM, which would mean that they're only a fifth of the way allocated to a 1% allocation. Now, maybe they never get to that point of 1%. Maybe they stop at 50 billion or something like that, but that's not what it sounds like. Insiders are saying they expect basically a 0.5% allocation this year. Now, what does that turn into? 1% next year after there are more and more inflows. People will feel more comfortable with it. Maybe it's even higher than that in the years to come, 2-3%, something like that. And then you're getting hundreds of billions of dollars just from BlackRock. That doesn't account for different funds in other countries they're allocating. That doesn't account for different companies allocating some of their cash. Yeah, so I think there's some secrets that they have that they don't want everyone to know, but they are most likely loading up on Bitcoin. Look at this. Crypto executives meet White House officials to discuss policy grievances during virtual roundtable. Apparently, and this came out last week or the week before, Harris was going to meet with crypto executives. Harris is a no-show, again, for the latest crypto roundtable. But don't worry, she really is into crypto. She gets it. Progress is being made. We can't point to anything at this time. Okay, Cameron, obviously being a little bit sarcastic there. But the fact is, and this isn't supposed to be political by any means, but Harris was a no-show to a group of individuals that are very wealthy, very influential, whether that's on purpose or on accident. I think it's a big fumble. And it really shows she is not really interested in crypto. She doesn't really care to get crypto companies on her side, to be like progressive in the crypto space. She doesn't even care enough to make an hour of her time available to meet with a handful of billionaires that are running an industry that is growing very quickly. I feel like that's a big fumble. And more news came out. So this was from Cameron. This is from Tyler. Today, the Fed confirmed that Operation Chokepoint 2.0 remains in full swing. They provided valuable insights into how it works and verified that the Harris crypto reset is a scam. The Fed revealed all of this in a 13-page enforcement action it issued this morning against crypto-friendly bank Customers Bank. The punchline of this enforcement action is that customers bank must now give the Fed 30 days notice or 30 days of advance notice prior to entering into any new banking relationship with a crypto company. Of course, the only way you can understand this is by connecting the third paragraph on page 1 of the order with the last paragraph on page 9. So they basically buried it in this 13 page. I mean, I guess maybe not buried it, but didn't make it super obvious. And this is one of the few crypto-friendly banks remaining in America today. This means that the Fed is now a direct gatekeeper standing between the crypto companies and their ability to get a new bank account. This is not how principles-based regulation is supposed to work. The decision whether to bank a company should be decentralized across the entire banking industry and made by each bank at its own discretion. Now, the decision has been made centralized by the government, and will be made by the Fed at its sole discretion. The choke point has been created, and they go on to talk more about it. By the way, if you're just coming in, you can scroll back in the video or pick up now. We talked about Blackrock a bit, talking about Chokepoint 2.0 now. If you don't mind, again, just slam the like button for me. Hit subscribe if you like these videos, so that way I know that you want more live streams in the future. And if you want to trade, there's that link to Margex. But this is not surprising, but it is disappointing. The fact is, crypto companies, obviously there is some risk in crypto, right? I think we all understand that. There are companies that work and do things that they shouldn't be doing, and maybe it's a little bit easier in crypto. But the fact is, Chokepoint 2.0 has debanked some of the most important companies within crypto. It's made it difficult for some of the best companies that are growing, that are scaling, that are employing people, that are trying to mold crypto in the right way. It's made it very difficult for them as well. Unfortunately, the powers that be, maybe deep state, maybe the politicians that everyone knows, they've made it very difficult for crypto to work in America. Now, luckily, you can't really take Bitcoin away from people, at least now. But it does seem like it's very obvious that one side of the aisle is very pro-crypto, one side of the aisle is very anti-crypto, which, again, is disappointing to see. Great message from Kamala today. It will be a day one priority to fight to bring down prices. I'll take on big corporations that engage in illegal price gouging. I'll take on corporate landlords that unfairly raise rents. I will take on big pharma and cap the cost of drugs. This is someone that's posting this. That was a great message. I liked it, so I could pull it back up. But Elon, through a chain of other tweets and people commenting on this, says the rise in prices or inflation is caused by government overspending, which increases the amount of money faster than the increase in goods and services output. This is the vast majority of the problem. Inflation was particularly bad during the COVID years, as there was massive government spending despite productivity plunging as people were forced to stay home. This is further exacerbated by excess regulation, which prevents the market from solving an unmet need, e.g. housing in high demand areas. Occasionally there is monopolistic behavior by companies, but this is relatively rare and usually only possible if the companies have gained control of their industry regulator. Again, a government, not a private sector, is the problem. I largely agree with Elon on this. Kamala is speaking, is saying that she can control what happens, like she's promising things, and I think all politicians promise things that they can't actually give. But it seems so obvious to me that this won't work. This isn't how capitalism works. It really is a trickle down from how much money is printed, how much stimulus there is, but no politician can go out there and say that we're not going to spend, because that means that people are going to get less, right? There's going to be pain. This is basically like saying you don't have to eat your dinner, but you can have dessert. This is saying, no, you have to eat your dinner, and we may have no dessert for a little while. Right? This is not what people want to hear, but this is really what has caused a lot of the issues. And a lot of people were pointing out after this that this is why we Bitcoin, because governments continue to overprint, because they continue to misuse funds, because they continue to be short-term focused. and greedy. Michael Saylor says Bitcoin is a capital investment that you can hold for decades, that a corporation, competitor, counterparty, or country can't take away from you. It will create generational wealth for your family, corporation, or country. Let me know. Do you want me to play this? It is 8 minutes long. Maybe we just play the beginning of it. And if it's really good, then we can continue on. You hear it well enough? Seems kind of quiet. By the way, we'll answer some questions here in a bit. Oh, it's too quiet. It might be a connection thing. But when I'm doing it the way that I usually do for videos. But yeah, maybe I'll make a video showing this a little bit later. I see something really interesting though. John Drake, let's pull this up. Ultimately, this is all trivial if you're in this thing for the long haul. First they laugh at you, then they fight you, and eventually, finally, they join you. I'm talking about BTC, not shit coins. They're a different thing. Yeah, I agree. Like a lot of people get caught up in some fund deleveraging or selling their assets. They get caught up with some short-term headwinds. They get caught up with politicians. But the fact is, it's impossible to stop Bitcoin at this point. So this provides some context to what's happening now. There could be tailwinds, though. It would be nice to have tailwinds instead of headwinds. I think that brings adoption faster. But yeah, in the end, Bitcoin's going to win out, in my opinion. Bitcoin dominance is spiking up to 57.7% here today. I think I said 27.7% this morning, but misspoke there. It's it's at new cycle highs. This is the highest point that we've seen since we started to see that altcoin rally at the beginning of 2021. If you remember, altcoins were just spiking like crazy, like a couple 100%. A lot of altcoins never even hit a higher point than they did in this rally. Bitcoin dominance went down to 40 and it kind of quadruple or 5-time bottomed around this 39 to 40% mark. Now it's just been a vicious rally. It does seem to be leveling off a little bit, which makes sense at this point in the cycle. Solana coming down a little bit as well versus its Bitcoin, versus its Ethereum pair. Pretty much back at this prior all-time high. Honestly, this is a pretty interesting point for Solana too. If it back tests here and bounces, I think that'd be extremely bullish. Just a reminder to zoom out, and we talked about this a lot in the live stream yesterday, to zoom out. If you look at Bitcoin's market cycles as measured from the low, you can see we are at the same spot we normally are at this phase in the cycle. Purple is this current cycle. We have green is last cycle, and then yellow is the cycle before it. It's only showing 3 cycles here, but as you can see, like this is typically where we're at. Maybe 3.5 to 4x from the bottom. Let me just see. Yep, as measured from the low, because we're at 15,000. Now we're around 60,000, right? So that makes sense. A 4x from the low, or just below. I think technically we went to 15.5. But last cycle we went up to a 20x. I think it was about 3,500 to 65,000 or so. The cycle before that we hit over 100x. Even if we don't get where we were before, even if we just get a 10x, let's say we get 10x this cycle, that would still be a very nice return with Bitcoin going up to about 155,000. As you can see here, we're looking at 500 more days until the peak, 400 more days, somewhere around there. Now, I will be honest, if you're someone that wants to take profits, I think you're going to want, again, it's up to you if you want to take profits on Bitcoin. Some people say no, just altcoin. Some people say, no, I'm going to sell all my Bitcoin. Some people don't want to time it, whatever. I think you're going to have to be willing to sell before this last peak because it's much too hard to time the exact peak. As you can see, it peaked out almost around the same time, the last 2 cycles. But whales like to manipulate. So I think you're going to have to be willing to sell before like that last run, and you're going to feel like an idiot, and then it's going to fall down and you're going to feel smart again. Just something to consider, that I am fully ready to be called an idiot for months because the price moves up after I take some profits. And yeah, I'm ready to feel that pain, right? To feel like I'm missing out. You just have to be ready for that in the crypto market, because otherwise you are too late. If you feel smart about selling at a specific time, unless you sell everything, right? Like maybe you nail the one day in the 1100-day bull market where it's the top, but yeah, most likely it'll keep on running afterwards. Okay, let's go through some questions and see if there's anything new on crypto Twitter. Yeah, I'll be making that. I'll probably be making a Michael Saylor video showing that speech for later tonight. We're heading to the cottage too, so it'll be nice to have something there. Whales bought the highest Bitcoin ever since October 2014, as of last month. Keep that in mind. Whales are out there just swallowing up Bitcoin, not waiting for another dip, it seems like. I mean, of course, whales have more money as well to buy dips, but yeah. Someone says 24 hours left. No hours left. There's nothing left. Yeah, I mean, I talked about this yesterday. When I give those 24-hour or 48 hours, there's always something happening in that time period. But yeah, I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that price is going to do a specific thing. It's just that there's some catalyst in that time period. Someone says no leverage, Sam. I mean, fair. You can make your own decisions if you want to use leverage or not. I used to be super anti-leverage, and I realized, well, it's just like anything else. Like, it just matters your risk tolerance and how much you put in and how you approach it. Just like if you trade a meme coins can be even more risky than leverage, right? Especially smaller meme coins. So there are people out there that are comfortable with it. There are people that aren't. So just make sure it's appropriate for you. Just wait until energy trades and contracts are done in BTC. That's coming within the next 3 years. Boom. I mean, that will be crazy. I mean, there are already countries trading Bitcoin and stable coins to get away from regulation. Sam, thoughts on CLSK? I like CLSK. It's my only Bitcoin miner. I actually purchased some options earlier this week. I saw that they were supposed to have earnings yesterday, but then put it off. And now they're today. I think the market's not reacting super positively to them shifting around earnings. That's not usually a good thing. Like, big companies don't do that. I've seen a handful of companies do that, and it's usually like they just screwed up. They didn't have something right. So it's a little bit unprofessional, but maybe something happened and they'll announce like, hey, we want to push it back so that we could tell you about this. Who knows? Yeah, if you don't mind, hit the like button and subscribe button. That would be great. Appreciate it. It pushes this video out to more people, shows people what's happening with BlackRock, what they're doing behind the scenes, shows people what's happening with the crypto industry and Chokepoint 2.0. You give big banks a mechanism, ETFs, they'll F with you. Yeah, I mean, the fact is, as time goes on, more and more people get into this. I mean, at the beginning, there probably weren't a bunch of whales just buying a ton of money or buying a ton of Bitcoin. It was probably like people mining, people putting a couple $100s in it. Of course, there were some people, but they were thinking more long term. It wasn't like someone was buying, when Bitcoin was really small, around a couple pennies. It wasn't like someone was buying 200K and then just dumping on the market or anything like that. But as people go on, as the market cap gets bigger, well, more people are comfortable with it. More people want to manipulate it because there's more money to be made. When there are liquidations that happen, there's a lot more money to be made now than there was 10 years ago when Bitcoin was just a few $100s, right? I hit the like. Appreciate that, John. Tim, liked and subscribed. Appreciate that. Ghost Beard, appreciate that. Okay. Currently, I own a very large piece of real estate. It gives me a pretty handsome amount of rent. The idea is to sell it and put the money into Bitcoin. Well, it makes sense to keep renting it. Okay, so you're saying your idea is to put it into Bitcoin, but will it make sense to keep renting it? Are you saying like one or the other? Essentially, that's what it sounds like. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think a lot of it comes down to your psychology and what you're comfortable with. Like, I'm going through and I'm buying a rental property right now. I could have that money and put it into Bitcoin. But for me, it's about diversification. And I really want to set myself up so that I have all my expenses paid for with real estate, some stocks as well, cash flowing businesses that I don't have to do too much in. And then I can, the really nice thing would be there, everything's taken care of and you can focus more on Bitcoin. Like when you make active income, it would be nice to just not feel like you have to put it in a certain place. You can actually put it into what you think is the best risk to reward, because there's something to be said for the fact that even if you feel like Bitcoin's the best risk to reward ratio, if you're not if you're not financially free where you don't have to work any job, you're probably still going to put less into Bitcoin than you think you should, because you have other obligations. And it makes sense. If there's more risk in Bitcoin, you probably should have some kind of diversification, right? And just in general, you should have diversification, but it's hard when you don't have every base covered already. So I think it makes sense if you find a good piece of property, especially when I know a lot of people run analysis and they're like, oh, well, this covers my mortgage and insurance, but they don't really account for everything else, property management or maintenance, capex, all that. Like it has to be a very good property there, and they're hard to come by at the right price. But I mean, if you make a good cash on cash return, it's probably going to appreciate just like properties have in the past. And yeah, I mean, I think real estate is a good idea for a lot of people just to cover some of the day-to-day expenses. Hopefully that was okay. I have a video on my channel too, just on the homepage, like, should I buy or should I wait? And I've talked about Bitcoin versus real estate too. I mean, the numbers break down to where most of the time it makes more sense to buy Bitcoin. If you can wait long enough, like your rental probably won't go up in value 2x, but Bitcoin probably will over the next 3 or 4 years. But that doesn't mean that you should necessarily sell, because a lot of it does come down to psychology. Okay. Okay. Or should I give up my source of DCA and keep it empty to sell it? I think we covered that pretty well. Bitcoin is up 6 billion% from, a hundredth of a penny to 60K in 15 years. If it is even 1% as successful in the 15 years, it stands to gain 16 million%. Yeah, I don't think you can necessarily look at it, but I mean, those are fun numbers to think about. But yeah, I mean, this is just the first 15 years. And this is when 93% of the tokens have come to market. Like that's when 93% of the Bitcoin supply has been mined. That is a crazy thing to think about for me. We have 7% left for the rest of existence to be mined. So there's not going to be much dilution. Thoughts on bullion in your portfolio? Bullion, like gold bullion? I'm not a big gold guy, but I mean, maybe it makes sense depending on your own situation. Do you think we could see AVAX at $100 again in this bull run? Let me pull it up. I don't even know what the price of AVAX is. 21. Yeah, I mean, I think we could. It would be a 5x from here. It'd be around a $45 billion market cap. I mean, that's about 1.5x what it was last cycle in terms of market cap. I think that's possible. Say BlackRock sells all their holdings, how much of a drop could that be? And would the market be able to handle it? I mean, I don't think the market would handle that well. I think the price of Bitcoin would drop significantly. But you have to remember, they don't control all the Bitcoin that's in their fund. Like it's a lot of other individuals. I don't think there'd be any reason for them to close down the fund unless they just turned ultra bearish and told everyone, like on the phone and called everyone and said, sell it. There'd still be people that said no, but I don't think that's really much of a possibility, honestly. It'd be like them going and closing their gold fund, or selling all their gold, or getting everyone out of their gold fund. It just wouldn't make sense. Volatility doesn't equal risk, but you don't want to be caught short needing money on the downswing. Yep. It's definitely smart to have stable returns. Definitely. And obviously it depends on like your own situation. Depends on how many rentals you have, right? If you have 100 doors and you're thinking about selling 10 of them, yeah, I mean, if you have no allocation to Bitcoin, maybe it makes sense. But yeah, if you're making a few $1,000s from a big commercial property, a few $1,000s each month, that you might want to hold on to that. Hello, Sam. Hello. Good to have you in here. Wooter, i.e. rental properties. Yeah. Yep. We'll sell a bit in 2025 for a trip to Switzerland. Yeah. I mean, some people say that they're never going to sell. I get it, but I think it makes sense to take some lifestyle trips. Like and it depends again, it just depends on your situation. But like for me, I do plan on taking some off the table. And I've talked about that during the bear market. Like I set my plans out at the beginning of the bear market. I set my plans out at the beginning of the bull market. And I just like every year or two, I set up the new plan and I just follow it. Hit the like, people. We need this. We need this guy to bring us from sky to earth. Come on, come on now. Break that like button. Appreciate that, Bina. Blackrock is a custodian. Yeah, most isn't theirs to sell. I suppose the other side is if they are doing what I've said that they're probably doing, which is buying another portfolio, so they could shed it. They could shed their allocation, but honestly, they just don't have much allocation anyways right now. Like, again, they're 0.2% AUM, and a lot of that is directly through other entities, right? So even in their own portfolios, they only own, I think, a couple tens of millions as of the last time we saw it. So they could shed that, but I don't see the point in that for them. It's also a bad look to be like, oh yeah, buy this. Okay, now sell it. Like most people are long-term focused for the most part. Only ask because I feel like Bitcoin would be the first choice if they were going to choose something to liquidate. Yeah, I mean, in a bear market, I don't put it past them to sell or to rebalance some of their portfolios or something, but I don't think that's even on their mind right now. How do you invest $5,000 into crypto as a startup? I'm guessing you mean like as a new person into crypto, not like a startup crypto company or something like that. At the end of the day, I think a lot of it depends on your own risk tolerance. I think it depends on how much you understand crypto as well. For example, if you don't understand Chainlink, don't go buy Chainlink because when it inevitably falls down in price or when everything else is racing up, like just this week, Bitcoin is down 4.5%. Some altcoins are up. You might get like the shiny object syndrome and be like, why am I with Chainlink, which is down 14%? I'm going to sell it and put it into the winner. But a lot of the time in crypto, things don't move like this. A lot of the time it's like this and then 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 this. And you just don't want to be stuck always buying the thing that's going up. So with that in mind, I would say personally, I think a heavy weighting towards Bitcoin is a very good idea, especially at the beginning, because most people don't understand the risks of smaller cryptos or even the risk of Bitcoin. Most people don't understand it. They don't understand like the cycles very well. They don't understand liquidity. They don't understand the total picture. They don't understand that you have to be willing to hold it for 4 years. And a lot of altcoins do like fall off. Like the winner of last cycle is not necessarily the winner of this cycle. There could be a great community this cycle and there's nothing next cycle. So I would, first of all, be very heavy Bitcoin. That's just my opinion. I saw someone today, an influencer with a big following saying, stop buying Bitcoin and Ethereum because you're only going to get 3 or 5Xs. And that is the exact opposite of how I view the market. I think what people get wrong is they say, I want a 10X or I want a 100X because I want this amount of money. I have a $5,000 portfolio. I want to turn it into a $100,000 portfolio this cycle. And it's just an arbitrary number. And they pick bad cryptos because of that. Like I'd rather get a 3 and 5X. Like I'm always looking at the best risk to reward ratio. And then as you get further down, right? Sure, you might get a 10X or 20X or something, but you're probably putting a lot less money into it. There's a lot less, there's a lot more risk. There's a lot more upkeep as well to like figure out the right time to get in and get out compared to something like Bitcoin. And yeah, a lot of people just mess up because they're trying to, sorry, I'm going on a bit of a rant here, but they're trying to get to an arbitrary number. And they're saying, how can I invest to get there? They make stupid decisions. They're buying. I talk about meme coins, right? I have very small allocations in meme coins. I think they're fun. I think you can get an outsized return sometimes, but I'm not going out saying I need to turn my portfolio 10, 20x and making allocations because of that. I think that's a recipe to holding on too long because you're like, oh, I'm halfway there. I'm just going to keep on holding instead of taking profits. And also, it's not the best risk to reward ratio. You're just, again, you're making up arbitrary things. And then what inevitably happens is you lose out a lot when you could have gotten a good return. No one in traditional finance is saying, how can I get a 3x this year, then a 3x the next year, turning my $5,000 portfolio into $100,000? No one that's successful, at least, right? What you should be looking at is how can I get consistent returns? Bitcoin's gotten consistent returns. Ethereum as well. Solana, that's done well, but like Bitcoin has been here, is going to be here. It's got, I think, the number one spot locked up forever in crypto land. Maybe there's something that dethrones it one day in terms of market cap, but most likely not anytime soon. And yeah, in traditional finance, a 3 or 5x is unbelievable. That is such a good return. Like imagine saying, I don't want to 3x my portfolio here. I'm not even saying Bitcoin's going to 3x necessarily, but imagine saying that. That is nuts. And I think it's a bad thing to say. I think it's a bad precedent to set. So I would go with Bitcoin. Make sure you understand it. Make sure you understand the market cycles. You're probably going to lose money your first cycle. That's just how it is. You get married to bags. You get too emotionally invested in ecosystems and communities, and you screw up. You don't take profits. You get too greedy. You start drinking the Kool-Aid. Your $5,000 turned into 20, and you're like, oh, if I just hold on a little bit longer, I can buy that new Model 3, and then it inevitably goes down, and you continue to invest all the way to the top, and then it goes down. Like I said, so I go heavy Bitcoin. Honestly, probably like entirely Bitcoin. Make sure you're diversified outside of this, and you understand all this, and make sure you're willing to hold for 4 years, all that kind of stuff. But if you want to get into altcoins more, I think you can't just go by what's the top 10 because there are some coins that just haven't moved. Like I know Cardano, some people love Cardano. It has not moved. It's still 90% off its highs. And at this point, I don't necessarily think that something that's 90% off its highs is like a good value. Like, oh, well, even if it gets up to its all-time high, it's going to 10x. I think we're too late in the cycle to say that that is a good thing, that it hasn't moved yet. Okay. So it's one thing if it's something new that's like an AI and a lot of people are watching it, it's very volatile, but like this thing has not moved. That is a bad sign. It's a value trap, right? So I'm not trying to piss people off, Cardano fans, but Solana's performed really well. Ethereum, I think, makes sense to have an allocation towards. There's been obviously a huge cliff because of the Ethereum ETFs. I could see a narrative too, like towards the end of the cycle where Solana starts getting ETFs, like spot ETFs. I could see that happening. Blackrock says they're not going to do that, but also wouldn't they be saying that if they didn't want everyone to pile in? It would be stupid for them to be like, oh yeah, we're going to get Solana ETF, but it's going to take 6 months, so go ahead and buy some. No, that'd be stupid. They want to get their wealthy individuals in earlier rather than later. So I'm like 80% Bitcoin within my crypto portfolio. I have stuff outside. Then I'm maybe 8% Ethereum. I'm 4% Solana, which I want to be more Solana. I'm focused on that. If there's a good time to rotate out of Ethereum into Solana, I'll do that. XRP, they just had the big news, but I'm not allocated towards XRP. I know a lot of people love it too, but still, it's like I said, there's a huge community behind it. I think a better community behind XRP than Cardano, but still hasn't done much. Toncoin has been a big winner. I'd probably put like 80% into Bitcoin, 10% into Ethereum, or 5% into Ethereum, maybe 10% Solana, and then keep 5% just to allocate towards things that you see maybe before other people notice them. But that's just my opinion. Again, you're probably going to lose money the first cycle. So that's why I'm like, be heavier Bitcoin, because you can lose 95, 98%, 100% if you get too greedy with it. But yeah, in Bitcoin, you're probably not going to lose much money. Let me move on. I feel like I talked a long time about that. Just lurking, loving the streams. Just wanted to say hi. Appreciate that, Mike. Thank you for coming. Well said, Sam. Sharp today. I like your insight. Appreciate that. I got up early today, walked the dog for a bit, got some coffee, met some people for donuts. Good all-American breakfast. So yeah. What is the fee from RGX? Is it tradable in Canada without VPN? You can use it. you don't need a VPN. Check their terms and conditions for where it's available. But the fee, it's free to use, but when you place trades, just like every platform, there are fees for trading depending on how much collateral you use and how leveraged you get. It says everything on the platform too. You can Google it. I mean, if we don't sell and enjoy our life, until when shall we keep hodling Bitcoin? I mean, I plan on holding some Bitcoin for a very long time. Like there's some Bitcoin that I'll probably hold on to forever. I don't want to say forever though, because maybe one day something happens and it, like Satoshi comes out and says it's all BS. I have this backdoor. I don't think that's happening. I should be clear. That's not even possible. But like there could be some scenario where Bitcoin, like apocalyptic, right? There are nukes going off, whatever. Maybe I want to go buy a shelter or something, buy more food, buy guns, whatever it is, right? I don't want to say forever because I think that's dumb to say that you're going to hold on to something forever because I don't know what's going to happen down the road, but I plan on holding some for a very, very long time, passing it down to my kids. But yeah, I do plan on taking some chips off the table. Chips off the table, yeah. Okay. Tom. Yeah. If you guys haven't seen Tom, by the way, Tom Crown's channel, go check it out. Great YouTuber, great insights on the market. But yeah, I just did a live yesterday. It was fun. So yeah, we're doing another one today. You're the best, Sam. Don't stop making videos. Appreciate that, John. Yeah, I know some people have talked about, actually, I had someone on my channel, Rob from Digital Asset News, that said at the top of this market, he's not gonna he's gonna sell. He's gonna say that he's gonna sell, and then he's just gonna wait until the bear market, like the bottom of the bear market, then come back in. I'll be making videos, I think, the whole time. So yeah, I plan on making videos on the way down, on the way up, all the time. Where do you personally think Bitcoin will be end of this year? I wouldn't be surprised if it was approaching 90 to 100. I think usually, at least from my experience, it goes below what people think. It goes below the bull targets. And I know some people are calling for 100, so maybe 80 to 90, but I don't want to get too out of line here, right? I am eternally optimistic, but I try to be realistic when I'm speaking to people, so that way, I don't sound I don't tell people it's going to 400 and then they don't sell because it's at 300 and then we fall down. Tom, appreciate that. Yeah, some people said that people often overlook Bitcoin. There is no second best. Yeah. People going for 10x are super wrecked right now. BTC should be the core of all portfolios, in my opinion. Well said. Probably said better and in a shorter time than I said it. I just say Bitcoin and chill. Yeah, I mean, the fact is at the end of the day, too, for me, I mean, 100x would be unbelievable, right? But how much of my portfolio am I going to put in that? 1%? Half a percent? Maybe. I'm not super risk on. I mean, I would be in traditional markets. They would consider my portfolio very risky. But for crypto, I am considered very risk off with a very large crypto portfolio and being diversified outside of crypto. But yeah, I mean, you can put a couple percent into a meme coin, but you're going to lose out on most of your meme coins. So then you have to put a couple percent into a bunch of meme coins. And then you're like checking them all the time. It's just not worth it when you could get a 2 or 3x in Bitcoin. And I was dollar cost averaging in the $17,000 range, the 20,000, the 30,000, the 40,000, and that kind of laid off after we hit 50. So far, that's been pretty good. So I think I'll still get a really good return. The risk in buying all good things you like is that you won't sell them because you like them. That's why you 100x S coins with 5% of your portfolio. Heavy Solana, BTC, and a low ETH. The rest are sprinkles, if that. Let me scroll down. I feel like I'm getting caught up behind here. Hello, Miguel. 80% Solana. I mean, that's definitely a volatile portfolio, but you've done quite well. 100% with. What do you think about Brett? Honestly, the meme coins have done really well. I think a lot of people gave people a hard time about buying meme coins last cycle. Just like, I was hard on leveraging, but the fact is, again, it's just a way to outperform. That the blue chip meme coins have done extremely well. Like they're some of the only things that have outperformed Bitcoin. Blue chip meme coins, Solana, Toncoin, Is that it? Like that's about it. That's outperformed Bitcoin essentially. But yeah, I mean, I think meme coins are here to stay. I wouldn't be going out and putting a ton of my portfolio in them, but like, yeah, if you have 5 or 10%, honestly, the blue chip seems they also have marketing. They have the money to go and market. And yeah, I mean, a lot of people hate on that too, but the fact is that continues to push it to new people. When someone tells you that it hasn't done much, and then it will go up. Yeah, beware of misinformation. Do your own research. I find that a lot. There's a lot of misinformation. Sam the man bringing that alpha. Appreciate that. By the way, if you guys are just coming in now, scroll back to the beginning of the video. You can rewatch it, maybe at 1.5x speed because I talk kind of slow. What happened to Litecoin? Seems like it quietly faded away, but it was, I think, a good blockchain. Yeah, I'll be honest. There are a lot of cryptos that I do research on, then kind of forget about because I'm just so focused on Bitcoin. But yeah, Litecoin is not my favorite. I look at a lot of cryptos and say, why would I invest in this instead of Bitcoin? It's got worse tokenomics. Less people are watching it. There's no large money that's buying it, right? There aren't a bunch of whales that are DCAing consistently. Maybe some whales that bought it a while ago. Blackrock's not talking about, like, traditional finance isn't going to get in on it. So yeah, most people know how to buy, but they have to learn how to sell. Yeah, I think selling is much worse. One, because you're missing out on possible upside. Two, because it almost always goes up after you sell and you feel like an idiot. Three, you feel like you're letting people down. Yeah, I mean, there's so many different reasons. Four, you have to pay taxes. You just know automatically that you're going to have to pay taxes. Cardano not moving is a blessing. The thing is coiling. Yeah, I mean, maybe. Markets are manipulated. Yep, all financial markets are. What do you think about the quantum computer wallet threat? I mean, I think that quantum computing would ruin a lot of things. I mean, if you think your Bitcoin's the only thing that's going to be taken, yeah, there's going to be a lot more taken from you if that happens or when that happens. Have you looked up Caspa? It solves the crypto trilemma. Yeah, I mean, I have a little bit of Caspa. We were actually I was the one, I guess, that got it Caspa added to Margex so that people could trade it. But yeah, you can trade it over there. I actually have a couple of videos on Caspa from way back in the day. How much do you like France? The French are watching you. Hey, Emmanuel, great to see you in here. Yeah, I've never been to France, honestly. I have a couple friends, though, that love it. I wouldn't mind going there for sure, especially, I mean, I'm kind of a foodie, so I'd love to try some of the food there. I'm always afraid of missing the peak of the bull market. Which signals should I look out for? I mean, I think depending on what you mean by that, I think we're all going to miss the exact peak. I think the key is not being too greedy and taking profits while still leaving a moon bag. Like I've laid this out before, but I plan on keeping half my Bitcoin, selling half, and part of that depends on the price too. Like at some point, if I don't know, if 10% of my portfolio is worth a lot and I can go buy rentals with it, versus like if we're at $100,000 Bitcoin versus 300,000, like I'm gonna sell more. But my selling is more based on time, and I've already laid out how much I want to sell. I'm planning to sell all my altcoins, but I plan on selling too early. I plan on selling too early and too late. Maybe one of my buys is around the top, but I think if you just take some off the table, even if it's not the perfect time, it's probably going to do well. But yeah, I mean, part of it depends on how much you have in. If you have 1% of your overall net worth in the market, then okay, what's really the point, right? But if you have 30 or 40% of your net worth now, or 10% now, it's probably a good idea to take a little bit off the top. Thanks again, brother. Definitely, Daniel. Thanks for coming. Do you believe Mr. 100 watches your videos? I don't know. Probably not. It would be very cool, though. Maybe I can set up some secret signal. But no, I don't think so. When the BTC peak happens, people will sell. The Blackrock ETC will buy, and people will never get BTC again. I mean, that's always the thing that causes people to hold on to Bitcoin and hold on to cryptos when they probably should take some profit. But yeah, that's the risk, right? That is why some people held throughout the entire bear market when they really wanted to sell, is because they were worried. that we're never going to have a bear market again. I think we'll always have bear markets. I mean, traditional finance has bear markets. So even if there are people allocating towards Bitcoin, like we just saw, right? There's a 30% dip. And there's still people that are eternally optimistic. Like I didn't sell a penny of Bitcoin. But like if we can get a 30% dip after all this good news, what happens when like the cycles line up for another bear market? And then there's bad news. Like we'll probably dip, 40, 50, 60, 70% again. But yeah, you still might not be able to buy in because you might be too scared to buy in. But yeah, I mean, I get why some people try not to time the market. Sam is the alpha. Appreciate that. This shirt is the alpha, bird shirts. Hey, Sam, what are your thoughts on Jasmy? I've heard a lot of good things. I'm sure I did research at some point, but honestly, I don't pay too much attention to it. But yeah, I mean, just a few weeks ago, I was speaking with a couple other people that do the same thing I do, and they were going on and on about how great Jasmy is. So, okay, I will probably wrap this up here in a second. Do I think utility coins will move much this bull market? Like XRP, I think it could go to $5 by the end of the cycle. I mean, possibly, but you do have to look at the market cap. Like XRP is one of the top cryptos already. $5 would mean it's a $300 billion market cap, which is essentially the size of Ethereum now. I mean, that'd be tough. It was not able to hit new all-time highs last cycle, which makes me a little bit worried. We warmly welcome our American buddies in our country. Love your content. You're so welcome, dude. Appreciate that. F anyone who votes Democrat. I mean, some people just aren't one issue voters or just focused on, the economy. Some people have other things on their mind too. So I try not to get into politics too much. Appreciate you, brother. I've been buying since December 2022 and the best decision of my life in terms of my finances, even after losing my job. That's awesome. I mean, that's very brave too, to buy in dollar cost average after you lose your job. That's tough. But yeah, hope everything's doing well for you now. Hopefully you bought Solana at $8 when other people were selling or something, or just Bitcoin. I mean, up 4x. That's awesome. Okay, I've got 2 more minutes. Do you think the cycle may be a never-ending upward slope, the same way the S&P 500 is overall? Tiny corrections, but nothing such. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a possibility. The fact is, though, it's much smaller. At this point, a couple things lead me to thinking that it won't function like the S&P 500 exactly, but I understand your thinking. I think the dips are going to be smaller and smaller because there are more people invested. There's more history. People just in general are more interested to buy the dip as it gets older. But yeah, first of all, the S&P 500 is 500 different companies, right? Like if one sector goes down in value and another sector goes up, it balances out a bit. S&P 500 also has people buying it every single week without knowing, every single day, right? Through jobs and retirement accounts. So that's something to be considered. It's also much larger, right? I mean, we're talking about $100 trillion market versus a $1.2 trillion market cap. So I think that's a couple of the things you have to be paying attention to. But I do think it will be really important when Bitcoin starts being allocated towards retirement portfolios. 48 hours, I'd say even less than that, maybe 3 hours until the markets close. What do you think about Ondo? I haven't looked at it in a long time, to be honest. Thanks a lot, Sam. Thank you, Bina. Do you think the stock to flow model will prove accurate this time around? Yeah, I mean, even last cycle, I know Plan B got a lot of crap for being off because Bitcoin only went to 70 instead of 100. But if I remember right, stock to flow is on a log scale. So from 60 to 100 isn't that much when you're coming from 3,000. So actually, I think it was pretty good last cycle. I think it puts Bitcoin around 502,000, if I remember right. So, I mean, that is a little bit high for me, but who knows? Okay. I think we're good. I'm just scanning here. Tim says, I've linked to Margex with your link, Sam. I'll let you know how it turns out. I'm impressed so far. That's awesome. Of course, make sure you do your own due diligence. Make sure you understand what leverage trading is, all that kind of stuff. Make sure it fits your risk profile too. Okay, Sam, what chill coins are you peddling today? Please keep us posted. on what one of the 24 million coins you need to shill to pump your bags. Yeah, I mean, fair enough. That's rough. But yeah, I mean, the fact is, the other day I talked about crypto 2 times before I bought it. I said I am going to buy it. Since then, it's up significantly. I think it's taking a dip now, but I talked about it back here a couple times, bought it over here, and now it's still up 40%. So actually 60% because we bought it at 0.6 and now it's at 0.1 or 0.01. So yeah, up like 70%. But like I've said many times, like I have very small portions of my portfolio in these. So even when one goes up, like it's fun. I think it's great. But this is a small market cap. I don't have any I don't have a 5% allocation to these things. So yeah. Um Sam, how are you doing with leverage trading? You're in the green. How many years have you been doing it? So I started doing it at the beginning of this bull cycle. And yeah, it's gone really well so far. The fact is, if you leverage at the right time and you do it when we're like in the bottom of corrections, it does really well. Like I started, I think in the 30s, in the 30K Bitcoin range, and did some low leverage longs, made a lot of money, took some off the table, reinvested it. Of course, you do get liquidated. So like I have multiple positions open all the time. Usually Bitcoin, but I also have some open on Ethereum and Solana right now. And they're doing really well. I can pull up this right now. This is over on Blowfin. I do trades on multiple platforms. I think it's important because even just the other day, like Coinbase went down, and yeah, sometimes these companies have a hard time with volatility and with so many people logging on. Leverage exchanges are much better, but I still like trying out different platforms. So yeah, this one I have 121% gain on Solana, up $1,200. Ethereum up 202. Bitcoin up 1,070. And yeah, these are all low leverage, as you can see here. Bitcoin trade right here up 506%. A couple that are just like barely down. So overall, good. I mean, I put like 100th of a Bitcoin in this one at 20x, and I took 25% off the table already. That's why it's lower than 100th of a Bitcoin. But 20x, yeah, I mean, you can make your own decisions if you want to do that. But I do think, one, it helps you with timing better. Like, I don't believe that you should really time all the time. Like I DCA throughout the bear market, but I think there are times where you should like sharpen your skills on this, because there are times where you can see something big happening and it just is like the market's oversold, or like FTX collapsed. And actually, I said at the beginning of the bull market, I shorted FTT token when it was falling down and made a 14x in one night on that. So I mean, there are times where it just makes so much sense, and there are times where you can leverage long just for the long term. But yeah, I think I went on a little bit long there. I forgot where I was even going with that. I've survived the crash of the fourth and built back 50% within days. Awesome. And still bullish. That's awesome. All right. Appreciate everyone for being here. I think we're about an hour in. If you want to scroll back to the beginning, you can check some of that out. If you want to check out the link to Margex or to CoinW or to WEEX or to Blowfin or to, I basically have every platform under the sun underneath the video. You can try those out. Appreciate you all, though. Going to make a video for later today, so be on the lookout for that. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.